The sky is not the ceiling. It is the first veil. Beyond it, the lights have names. You have looked up your whole life and called it distance. But tonight you begin to sense something else. Not space, not emptiness, a layered presence. The visible sky is where the story starts, not where it ends. Because what you call above is not a direction. It is a depth you have not learned to perceive yet. And once the veil thins, even slightly, you notice what has always been there. Order, not the order of rules, the order of intelligences. Somewhere within that order, a star appears, not as decoration, as a signal, a living coordinate. It does not merely shine, it calls. And in that call, you feel an invitation that does not flatter you. It clarifies you. It asks only one thing: coherence. Then the second symbol arrives, as if rising out of your own awareness, a tower, not built of stone, not built by hands. It is architecture made of gradations, a vertical grammar of realms, level upon level, not stacked like prisons, but arranged like meanings. Each tier more lucid than the last. You do not travel to it. You recognize it, because you have felt it in ordinary life, in moments when a thought becomes cleaner, when a desire becomes quieter, when a fear dissolves because you see through it. Those were small ascents. This is the same movement made cosmic. And now a voice comes through the stillness, not loud, not theatrical. It speaks as if it has always been speaking, as if silence was only the way you avoided hearing. I am, a voice speaking softly. I am from the beginning. I am in the silence that surrounds every one of them. The words do not land like doctrine. They land like memory. Something in you stands up, not with excitement, with recognition. The star holds your gaze. The tower holds your sense of scale. And you realize the ascent is already happening, not because you are escaping the world, but because you are beginning to see what governs it from above the veil. You do not rise by leaving the world. You rise by seeing it correctly. At first, it feels like nothing happens. The sky is the same. The air is the same. Your body is still where it has always been. But perception begins to widen upward, as if a ceiling has been removed inside you, not the ceiling of space, the ceiling of assumption. And that is when the tower becomes visible. It is not a monument. It is not stone. It does not cast a shadow. It is made of distinctions, a vertical order, level upon level, not stacked like floors, but graded like clarity. Each tier is a different density of being. Each tier is a different speed of thought. Each tier is a different kind of silence. You have sensed this before, without naming it. When you speak from irritation, the world becomes flat. When you speak from patience, it becomes layered. When you chase approval, the horizon collapses. When you stand in truth, the horizon opens. Those were small hints. Now the same structure shows itself as a cosmic architecture. The tower is the recognition that reality has altitude, not social altitude, not moral posturing, ontological altitude. A hierarchy that does not humiliate, a hierarchy that illuminates. And you understand something difficult. Higher does not mean further away. Higher means less distorted. The tower does not demand worship. It demands alignment. It does not threaten you. It exposes you. Because as you look into it, you feel your own inner levels answering it. The parts of you that love noise begin to lose their grip. The parts of you that love clarity begin to wake up. The star remains above, steady. But now it feels closer, because the tower has given your gaze a spine. Then a line from the old text strikes like a clean bell. Not metaphor. Instruction. These are the 4 lights which attend the divine autogenes. Not one light, not a single blaze. A structured brilliance, attendance, order, presence arranged around presence. And the tower, suddenly, is no longer an image. It is a map of how light organizes itself. You realize the ascent is not about escape. It is about becoming capable of seeing what is already there. You are not going elsewhere. You are becoming adequate to a higher coherence. The tower stands, the star holds, and something in you prepares to learn the names of the realms. The star does not shine like decoration. It shines like orientation. Not pretty, not distant, not random. A living coordinate in the ionic map. You begin to understand that light can contain instruction, not as a message written on it, but as a pressure that reorganizes you. A pull that makes certain thoughts impossible to keep believing. A pull that makes certain fears feel childish. A pull that makes you simpler. The tower stands behind your awareness like a spine. But the star is what moves you. It does not push. It does not command. It draws. And you notice something that breaks the old reflex of religion. Hierarchy is present here. But there is no cruelty inside it, no humiliation, no threat. Higher does not mean harsher. Higher means clearer. Lower is not condemned. Lower is simply noisier. More crowded with distortion, more susceptible to imitation light. The star teaches this without speaking. It shows you that the ascent is not a conquest. It is resonance. You cannot force your way upward. You can only become coherent enough to be carried. So you watch what happens inside you as you hold the star in your attention. The mind tries to narrate. It tries to label. It tries to control the experience by explaining it. But the star refuses that bargain. It will not become an idea. It will not become a belief you can display. Instead, it names the realms by changing how you see. When you look through pride, everything becomes a battlefield. When you look through fear, everything becomes a cage. When you look through craving, everything becomes an endless hunger. But when you look through the star's pull, the realms begin to differentiate. As if the cosmos has always had levels, and you simply lack the inner instrument to detect them. You feel the first veil thin again, not the veil of clouds, the veil of forgetfulness. And then a line from the old homily arrives with surgical calm, not as poetry, as a description of what is happening to you right now. The one who has knowledge like this knows where they come from and where they're going. That is what the star gives, not fantasy, not escape, not a new ideology. It gives you direction that dissolves confusion. You are no longer wandering under a sky you misread as empty. You are moving through a city whose streets are made of intelligible light. And the star is the first signpost that does not lie. The meeting is not theatrical. No trumpet, no spectacle. No grand voice trying to impress you. It is precision. You cross a threshold. And the atmosphere changes the way water changes when it becomes ice. Everything is still. Everything is exact. The tower is no longer a distant image. It is the condition of the realm you are entering. And the star, steady above you, stops feeling like guidance and starts feeling like law. Not law as punishment, law as pattern, as the hidden mathematics that makes harmony possible. This is where the Aeons become present, not as winged figures, not as humanoid gods, but as living intelligences, principles that have weight, meanings that have shape, archetypal forces that do not argue, because they do not need to. You feel them before you see them. One presence feels like pure discernment, not judgment. Discernment. The ability to separate true from false without hatred. Another feels like mercy, without sentimentality, not softness. Mercy is the power that restores what is scattered. Another feels like severity without cruelty. The clean edge that prevents distortion from masquerading as light. And as each Aeon draws near, something unsettling happens. You are known. Not inspected, not accused. Known. There is no moral theater here, no interrogation, no scoreboard, just an overwhelming recognition that higher orders do not need to shame you. They only need to reveal you. In the lower world, being seen feels dangerous, because being seen is often used as leverage. Here, being seen feels stabilizing, because it is not used against you. It is used to return you to coherence. You sense why the ancient texts speak about veils. Because between levels, something must prevent confusion from flooding upward, not to punish the soul, to preserve the clarity of the higher realm. And then, the old line arrives, not as symbolism, but as description of passage. Their veils drew away of themselves, and their gates opened. That is what this feels like. Not you forcing entry, not you breaking through. The veils respond to resonance. The gates open to coherence. The Aeons are not impressed by intensity. They do not reward hunger. They do not respond to performance. They respond to alignment. And now you understand why the tower matters. Because the tower is the structure of alignment itself. A hierarchy that does not dominate. A vertical order that protects the real from the counterfeit. The star holds above you like a calm verdict. Ascend by becoming true. You expect enemies. That is the old habit. The reflex the lower world teaches you. Every threshold must have a villain. Every gate must be guarded by cruelty. Every ascent must be paid for in fear. But that is not what you meet. You meet powers, and you meet guardians. Not cartoon monsters, not sentimental angels. Threshold intelligences. They do not exist to terrify you. They exist to differentiate levels, to preserve order, to keep the higher realms from being flooded by incoherence the way a clear spring is ruined by mud. When you first feel them, your mind tries to project, It paints their presence with your own anxiety. It gives them your memories. It gives them your shame. And for a moment, you almost believe the projection. You almost mistake your fear for a real gate. Then something changes. You see the difference between a phantom and a boundary. A phantom demands emotional submission. A boundary demands clarity. The guardians do not feed on panic. They do not bargain. They do not threaten. They simply stand. You realize they are not asking, "Are you good enough?" They are asking something more exact. Are you coherent? Can you carry truth without turning it into a costume? Can you hold light without using it to dominate? Can you pass upward without importing distortion and calling it revelation? Their test is not moral theater, it is structural. Like a bridge that holds weight or collapses. Like a flame that burns clean or smokes. Like a note that resonates or falls flat. And here you learn the hardest lesson of ascent. The gates are not locked from the outside. They are locked by what you bring with you. If you carry obsession, you cannot move into stillness. If you carry performance, you cannot enter truth. If you carry hunger for authority, you cannot pass into the realm where authority is simply lucidity. You stand before the threshold and feel the tower behind you. Its levels are not punishment. They are protection. And above, the star holds steady, not as reward, as law, as the quiet logic that says, you rise by resonance, not by force. Then the old text flashes through you, clean and unsparing. Ignorance of the Father brought about anguish and terror. You feel it immediately. Anguish and terror are not signs of depth. They are symptoms of misrecognition. The guardians are not trying to frighten you. They are revealing what fear actually is, a distortion that cannot enter the higher order. And as that recognition settles, your fear loses its authority. Not because you conquered it, because it is no longer believable. The threshold becomes quieter, the guardians remain. But now they feel like a stabilizing presence, not an adversary. The gate does not open because you demand it. It opens because you have stopped lying to yourself. Now the tower becomes intelligible, not as a vision you admire, as a structure you finally understand. Hierarchy here is not oppression. It is a luminosity gradient, a difference in clarity, not a difference in worth. In the lower world, hierarchy usually means domination. Someone above, someone beneath, someone feeding, someone being fed on. So your mind expects the same logic to be hidden in the upper realms. But the city of the Aeons does not run on hunger. It runs on coherence. The tower shows it plainly. Each level is a cleaner kind of knowing, a quieter kind of being, a life with less distortion in it. You begin to see why the guardians were necessary, not to punish you, to protect the higher order from being turned into a stage. Because the moment you import ambition upward, you corrupt the architecture. The moment you import performance upward, you replace light with display. The moment you import fear upward, you create counterfeit authority. And then, without drama, the star reveals what it actually is. Not a guide in the sentimental sense. It is the logic of ascent itself. A living standard of resonance. You cannot climb this tower by force. You cannot bargain your way up with intensity. You do not rise by wanting it harder. You rise by becoming more aligned with what is already true. That is why the gates open of themselves, not because the cosmos is permissive. Because coherence is a key that does not need a hand to turn it. It happened, when I arrived at the 12 Aeons, that their veils and their gates were shaken, one over against the other. Their veils drew themselves apart of themselves, and their gates opened. That line is not poetry here, it's the mechanics of the tower. Because the higher you go, the less you can fake. Not because you're being judged, because the realm itself is made of truth density, and distortion cannot hold shape inside it. This is what the hierarchy actually is, not a ladder of privilege, a filtration of reality. At the lower levels, ideas can masquerade as insight. At the higher levels, only being can pass. So the tower reveals a harsh mercy. Anything in you that relies on noise, anything that needs an audience, anything that survives by pressure and performance, begins to fall away, not ripped away, simply unable to continue. You feel it like weight dropping from the soul. And for the first time, you understand why so many seekers get lost. They try to climb with the wrong fuel. They climb with rage. They climb with identity. They climb with hunger for specialness. But the tower does not reward intensity. It rewards coherence. And that is when you notice the city around you. Not a city of stone, a city of orders, kingdoms made of intelligible light. Each realm not elsewhere, but more real because it is less distorted. You have entered a hierarchy that cannot be abused, because it is not a social system, it is a metaphysical one. The star steadies your attention, the tower steadies your being. And now there is only one movement left: ascent, meeting, recognition of what has always been above you, even when you called it empty sky. The last threshold isn't higher, it's back, because the tower does not end in departure. It ends in translation. You feel the pull to stay where everything is clean, where thought is quiet, where nothing begs to be believed, where light is simply light. But the city of the Aeons does not recruit you into escape. It does something stranger. It restores your sight, then returns you to the world that trained you to missee. And as you begin to descend, not falling, not failing, descending with awareness intact, you notice what changed. The sky is the same, but it is no longer empty. The noise of ordinary life is still there, but it no longer feels like reality's final layer. It feels like surface weather. And you understand the secret that makes the whole ascent dangerous in the best way. Once you've seen the hierarchy of light, you cannot pretend the counterfeit is equal. You can still function. You can still work. You can still speak. But you cannot unknow what distortion feels like. You start to catch it early. The moment a thought tries to hypnotize you with urgency, the moment a fear tries to become wisdom, the moment a voice in you tries to borrow authority from intensity, you recognize the lower powers by their signature. They make you smaller while promising you control. And you recognize the higher order by its signature. It makes you clearer while demanding nothing but coherence. You return with a new kind of caution, not paranoia, discernment, because you've learned something simple, but irreversible. Not everything that shines is light. Some things shine because they're burning, so you keep the star where it belongs, not as superstition, not as decoration, but as an inner coordinate. And you keep the tower where it belongs, not as fantasy, but as a reminder that reality has levels, and attention chooses which level you inhabit. The ascent is no longer a journey you hope to repeat someday. It becomes a daily practice of refusing distortion. A refusal so quiet that nobody notices except you. And that's the point. You look up again, same sky, same stars, same distance. But now you know that above was never geography. It was clarity. The city of the Aeons isn't waiting for you in some far-off afterlife. It is present as a hierarchy of intelligences always here, only hidden by the thickness of your attention. And if there's one final lesson the tower leaves in you, it's this. You don't rise by collecting ideas. You rise by becoming true enough that the gates open on their own. The star remains, the tower remains, and the world remains. But you are no longer sealed inside the first veil, because you've seen that the cosmos is layered, and your life is either an ascent into coherence or a slow agreement with distortion. So you choose, quietly, daily, without theater. And somewhere above the visible sky, the higher order does what it has always done. It waits, not with impatience, but with steadiness, for you to become capable of meeting it again.